Welcome to The Truth About Real Estate. I'm Erin Blaze. Today we're talking about programs that make it easier to buy a home. My special guests are April Woodall from the Columbia Housing Authority and Rory Dunham from Allied Mortgage. April, I was wondering if you could tell us how the Section 8 homeownership program works.
The Section 8 homeownership program works very similar to Section 8 rental assistance. The Housing Authority provides a subsidy based on the bedroom size and type of utilities for the unit. But instead of paying for a rental property, the Housing Authority assists the homeowner in paying for their mortgage. So we're helping people to buy their first home instead of renting an apartment or a home.
Okay. Do people that are in Section 8 now that want to buy a home, is there a class they have to take? Are there qualifications they have to meet to participate?
Definitely. There are some qualifications that go along with it, such as being on Section 8 for a year, making a certain amount of income. But one of the classes that they are required to take is Money Smart, which is provided by the Housing Authority. It's a financial education and homeownership counseling class. We talk about budgeting, savings, checking accounts, investments, all the way through credit reports and home ownership. So they really get the full gamut of finances all the way up to home ownership to help them buy their first home.
Okay. How long is the class?
The class lasts 10 weeks. It's Mondays at noon and 6:30, so whichever one works best for their schedule. And it meets only on Mondays for 10 weeks, and after that we hold a graduation where our partners are invited. The City of Columbia provides generous support through their Community Development Block Grant Commission to support this program. And so during the graduation, we congratulate those graduates and represent our partners also.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many people in our housing authority have actually used the program?
Well, the class is open to everybody in Boone County, so it's not specifically for public housing or Section 8 tenants. To date, since we started in 2004, we've had over 200 graduates from that class.
Do you know how many have actually gone on to purchase a home?
We have had 12 total homeowners from Section 8 homeownership. We've had approximately 14 from public housing, and then I would say about a handful in Boone County, but approximately 1 in 10 graduates does go on to purchase their first home.
I was doing some research online, and it said that over 800 people across the United States have actually purchased a home using the program. But it seems like, well, one of the reasons I wanted you to come on the show is we need to get the word out about the program because I don't think enough people know about it. Can people stay on the program, the full 30 years of the mortgage?
That depends. Traditionally, we assist them with their mortgage payments for the first 15 years if their mortgage is 20 years or longer. And then anything less than 20 years, we assist them for 10 years. Unless they're an elderly or disabled family, then we would assist them for the life of the mortgage.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Rory, I wanted you to come here and talk about a program called Nehemiah. This is another program I don't think very many people know about it. As far as people in Columbia, I think there's probably been thousands of people across the United States that have used the program, but could you tell us a little bit about how people can get their down payment through the program?
Of course. In today's market, there are few 100% loan programs available anymore for a home purchase. FHA is a 97% loan program. It requires a 3% down payment from the buyer, but it makes available the ability to utilize the Nehemiah Down Payment Assistance Program. What the Nehemiah Down Payment Assistance Program does is it orchestrates a down payment gift from the seller to the buyer that secures the 100% financing, taking 97% from a lender, the other 3% from Nehemiah and the participating seller as well.
Okay. Do they have to be a first-time home buyer to take advantage of the program?
No, they do not. FHA is a government loan that is eligible to most people. There are few restrictions on an FHA loan. There are loan limit restrictions. There are income restrictions as well. But to utilize the down payment assistance program, it doesn't matter if it's your first home or your 15th home, provided you have a seller that will participate in the down payment assistance program, which is very, very common that they will, then anyone can utilize those funds to make 100% financing.
Okay. Is there any kind of a geographic restriction where it has to be in certain areas, like a large town or in the country or anything like that?
There are absolutely no restrictions on where the Nehemiah program can be used. The only requirement is the fact that the seller will participate in the program as well, to make the Nehemiah gift available.
Mm-hmm. So the seller basically, they're paying, how much is the seller actually paying?
What the Nehemiah Down Payment Assistance Program does is it allows the buyer and the seller to arrive at a contract sales price that is sufficient for the seller to be able to gift 3% for the down payment. There is a $499 Nehemiah processing fee to make that transaction happen. So the seller is looking at 3% of the final purchase price plus the $499. That is their contribution towards making that gift happen. And again, oftentimes what happens is that if a buyer and a seller are aware that this type of program will be utilized, a sales price is agreed upon that makes it possible for the seller to give that gift and still be able to pay off any existing mortgage that they may have, or leave the closing table with what they needed for that particular transaction.
Okay. And does it have any effect on the appraisal?
No. You know, the way appraised values work is, first of all, when we're dealing with the purchase transaction, what a property is worth is very much influenced by what a person will pay for it. Mm-hmm. So if we have a contract sales price of $150,000, that supports the value in stage one because we have a buyer that is willing to pay that for the home. And then we support that by finding 3 other properties within a close proximity that are similar in design and size, etc., that have sold in recent months for a similar sales price to our subject property. So the use of Nehemiah is not a negative thing, as some people, some sellers that I've worked with have even thought that, what implications does this have on them? It is not a negative thing at all. How it affects the loan program itself, an FHA loan is not a higher risk for challenged borrower type loans necessarily. And as far as the appraised value or the contract is concerned, it is just as any other appraisal would be done, just as any other sales contract would be written. Nehemiah is simply a tool that is available, a resource that is available to help a buyer come up with financing for a home that does not require any money out of their pocket.
Mm-hmm. Are very many people in our area using the program?
Many. If I should have done some research on this, but of the home purchases that our office has done in 2008, I would venture a guess that 93% of those have been FHA loans, and of that 93%, I would say that 98% have utilized the Nehemiah Down Payment Assistance Program.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
It is, and the interesting part about it is that not a whole lot of people know about it. Mm-hmm. In many of the purchase transactions that I personally have been a part of, there has been an education process that has taken place, not only for the buyers, but for the realtors involved as well as the seller. I've been met with some skepticism as to what kind of phony baloney thing is this here,
Right.
and it is a nationally recognized program that can be researched further by going to www.getdownpayment.com, and you can read all about the Nehemiah Down Payment Assistance Program from all different aspects: buyer, seller, realtors, lenders, etc.
April, do you know if that would work with, do you have any requirement on the Section 8 voucher for home ownership that they use a certain kind of financing, or have they used this type of financing?
I don't think to date anybody's used the Nehemiah financing. They have used FHA. They haven't used the Nehemiah down payment assistance. They're required to have at least 3% down, so the most loan to value they could have is 97%. Only 1% of that has to come out of pocket. The other 2% they can get a gift down payment, or they can get it from friends and family, or however that comes in. But they would have to have at least 3% down. However they can work that out.
Okay. And another question I had was, when people rent something through Section 8, they have a special Section 8 inspection. Do you do that on the homes they purchase as well?
Initially, we do a Section 8 home inspection. It's just like the rental one, and they're looking for housing quality standards types things. If you're on the rental program, you'll get an inspection every year after that, but on home ownership, you only get one once every 3 years.
Do you also recommend they get a home inspection from an outside regular home inspector?
Yes, actually, we do require that. They're required to purchase a private inspection. They can hire, any company of their choosing to do that inspection.
Okay. And then do you look at the inspection with them?
We do. We go through it and look at some key points, and then if the Section 8 inspector has some opinions about it, they might put their 2 cents in. The housing authority does have to approve the home or the unit to be purchased before they can go through the transaction. And what we're really looking for is something that's going to be sustainable for them, that they don't have any huge costs that are going to come up. So we do go through that with them. And we do the same thing for the lending portion of it also. We have to approve the loan, and we're kind of trying to steer away from, balloon payments or the types of things that might make it not sustainable for that person. But again, they can choose any lender of their choosing. And
Okay, so the house has to pass a Section 8 inspection, and then you go over the home inspection with them, and then you go over the loan details with them just to make sure that they're comfortable with it. Can they purchase a home they're renting? Can they just stay where they're living?
they can do that. They have every option. They can purchase anywhere in Boone County, as long as it's a single-family, existing, or new home. And even now, they've just recently allowed us to do new construction. So, yeah, they have several different options that they can choose from.
Okay, and then I guess on a new house, you're going to have a warranty. So then you get the warranty with the new house, but if they buy a house that's existing, then they don't have to get a warranty necessarily?
Yeah, we don't have any specific requirements that go along with a warranty. It's just kind of on a case-by-case basis. How does each home purchase going to work as far as the lender and the real estate agent is concerned, and the seller for that matter too.
Okay. Well, Rory, I guess I have some inspection questions for you.
Okay.
Do you actually look at the inspections once the buyer get these done?
Our main focus is obviously in every transaction we do, we want our buyer to be as informed as possible. Our job first and foremost is to make sure that they have a very fluent understanding of what their loan program is. But on the lender side of the transaction, the appraisal report gives a lot of information about the property itself. But an appraisal specifically looks at what does this house have as far as 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, it has these amenities, and it looks at what condition those things are in. And obviously, we provide a copy of that appraisal to our buyers. But I always encourage a private home inspection to be done, because a home inspector gets in and looks at every nook and cranny of that home, crawls under the house, climbs on top of the house and looks at every different part and piece. And I think it's important that someone go over these with the buyers to make sure that they completely understand not only what this report says about how things are now, but how things will be in the not so distant future and then in the future, because I myself, like anybody else, we work very hard for the income that we have, and there's not always a lot of it that is disposable. And so therefore it's important that we know the quality of the home that we're getting into and any short-term or long-term costs that may arise. So.
All right, well, I mean, as a realtor, we always go over the inspection report with the people, and lots of times we'll attend the inspection with the people so we can discuss any things that we find. But I was just curious, like if you have a regular appraisal and an FHA appraisal and there's a condition issue, are they going to make, do they differ on how they talk about the conditions of the property on the appraisal?
Oftentimes, an appraisal looks at more so, when we look at the condition of the property, we are looking at main component integrity type issues. A foundation inspection is done, and it's very common and typical that the components covered by the appraisal will be mirrored in a home inspection. A home inspection, however, is much more extensive. A home inspection, an appraiser will say the water was turned on and the hot water heater appeared to be working as there was hot water. A home inspector will go over every inch of that hot water heater and note the condition of the elements and things of that nature, and what type of life expectancy can be expected. But when we get into just the core parts of the property and what condition those are in, those will be mirrored by what a home inspector will say. And there are restrictions or certain requirements of what condition a home must be in for the lender to feel comfortable lending on it. Not only what the immediate condition of it is, but what the life expectancy of the home is based on its current condition, because obviously these lenders want to make sure that there's going to be a home that is going to outlive the life of the loan for collateral purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I bought my last home, one thing we had to do was fix the foundation before it could close, because it had one wall that wasn't stable, so we had to have that repaired. Mm-hmm. Are there any other types of things where you would definitely have to get it taken care of before closing, that comes to mind?
Most notably, if there were significant or very obvious roof problems that existed, an untrained eye can look at the condition of some roofs as far as the shingles are concerned, and it's quite obvious that the life expectancy of that roof is not going to be long, or at least raise red flags enough to say, I wonder what it looks like under the shingles if they're in poor shape. So that is one thing. Another thing that I run into frequently are siding type issues. More homes nowadays have the vinyl no maintenance siding, but in years past homes have been built with a fiberglass type siding or a wood type siding, and if there are rotting type issues of any kind with the wood, those have to be addressed. Not only the problem itself, but what the source of the problem was. When we get on the inside of a home, we want to make sure that the windows are in good shape. We want to make sure that aside from just your normal wear and tear on walls, that there aren't any large problems with drywall. The floors, as far as the floor coverings themselves, need to be in reasonably good shape as well. And not looking for a brand new home by any means, but at the same time, not putting any borrower, regardless of their awareness level, into a home that needs or in the near future will need a significant amount of financial investment to keep it in good order.
Okay. in April, when I had a client that got a Section 8 inspection, and they had to have smoke detectors in each room, and they had to have a carbon monoxide detector on each level. And that's something where obviously it's a great idea, but normally a regular home inspector or a appraiser or a lender is not going to look at that. Is that a Section 8 requirement that they do that?
And I'm not a specialist in housing quality standards or the inspection process. I do know that those inspectors have certain guidelines they have to follow as far as city codes and ordinances, and then things that come from HUD, which is our governing agency. And so those are the specific types of things that they have to look for. Where that may not be something that a homeowner may think about initially, going through our program, and we have the same requirements for Section 8 rental assistance. The landlord would have to have the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide detectors. So we have those same standards for our homeowners as well.
Okay. And do they update the requirements as like the city code changes then, or?
As their requirements change, or the things that they're supposed to check for, yes, we do updates with what they're checking on, and codes and regulations change quite frequently, and any type of governmental business that you do, so they're consistently making sure that they're checking the things that they're supposed to.
Okay. I have another question about the Nehemiah program.
Okay.
You said that at your office about 98% of the FHA buyers are using Nehemiah. Are people using them with any other programs? Do they use them with VA or conventional at all?
Well, I tell you what, VA is a 100% loan program, so the utilization is not necessary. And with your conventional loan programs, the ones that I am most fluent with, if there is a down payment required, use of a down payment assistance program is not allowed. So when we deal with these down payment assistance programs, they are generally piggybacked with an FHA loan. That is kind of what they were designed for. When FHA most recently updated its loan to value and so forth, they said that we will do a 97% loan, but instead of you having to come up with 3% of your own funds, we will allow you to utilize a down payment assistance program, which will incorporate the seller into making the 3% down payment possible. And at this point in time, when I look at the different home purchase loan programs that are available, by far, FHA right now is the best loan program going for a person that is looking to secure as close to 100% financing as possible. FHA is a government-insured loan. The monthly mortgage insurance that is required for any loan exceeding an 80% loan-to-value ratio is very, very low, regardless of what your circumstances are. The interest rates right now for a would-be 100% loan program are some of the best on the market. And then you combine that with the fact that the required down payment that 99% of the loan programs have now can be a gift made from the seller, along with the allowance for seller contributions for closing costs. FHA is one of the best loan programs that are available right now.
Okay, and we have a city grant in Columbia where you can get up to $4,000. So because of the limit on how much assistance you can get, then you couldn't get the $4,000 and the 6% Nehemiah?
Yes, you could.
Oh, you could?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting.
Absolutely. And the way that would work is what FHA says is that at a 97% loan to value, the seller can contribute up to 6% to the buyer. When Nehemiah is utilized, 3% of that 6% seller contribution is coming from the Nehemiah, and then oftentimes, frequently, what you will see is the other 3% being applied as a closing cost credit. What the $4,000 from the city can be used for is a combination of different things. the $4,000 can either go towards the closing cost items, reducing what the seller contribution needs to be, oftentimes making it more appealing to the seller. The less they have to contribute to make a transaction happen, the more favorable it might be. Or what I see oftentimes is when we have a seller that is willing to participate in the full 6%, what we do is we take the $4,000 from the city, utilize it as an additional down payment, and what it then enables a person to do is if their payment comfort zone is $500, and that means to them that they can buy a $75,000 house, then adding the $4,000 from the city would enable them to buy almost an $80,000 house and still keep their monthly payment comfort zone.
I see. And can people get, like if they've had an FHA loan in the past, can they get another one in the future?
Absolutely.
So there's no limit on the number of FHA
No limit.
loans?
That is correct.
Okay.
And another nice thing about FHA is there are no, in the past there have been loan programs available that restricted a buyer to only owning one property. FHA does not have that same restriction. You can own as many properties as you like. The FHA loan must be for your primary residence. So it's a loan program that is, in the past, I think the stereotype that has gone along with an FHA loan is that it is a loan for challenged borrowers, but that is absolutely not the case. There are a wide spectrum of borrowers that utilize this, and it is true that FHA has a little bit more relaxed lending requirements, which make it more favorable for your lower credit score borrower that may not have a ton of money and assets in the bank, that perhaps has a little bit higher debt-to-income ratio. It is perfect for those people, but it is not limited to that caliber of borrower. We have, I looked at a deal today where we have borrowers with high 700 credit scores that are purchasing a $255,000 house that are going to utilize an FHA loan. So,
very interesting. All right, well, looks like we're out of time. Thanks for watching The Truth About Real Estate. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover, email me at thetruthaboutrealestate@gmail.com. Thanks, guys.